Welcome, 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 divine, beautiful human souls. It is Wendy here once again with Raise the Vibe Initiative. For those of you who are returning, I am so delighted you guys are here. Thank you for your energy, for your time, and for your service to the planet at this time. For those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Wendy Mahoney, and I am the host and creator of Raise the Vibe Initiative. It is here we are talking about all things evolution. We are talking about consciousness. We are talking about new earth, evolution, solutions. If you want to raise your vibe, you found the right place. Today, I have a super fun guest and a beautiful friend of mine. I have Sister Starchild in the house. She is incredible. She is a Reverend Sister Starchild, a Galactic Shaman priestess, and divine DAKINI. She is a minister of curiosity, formerly of the entertainment industry as a headlining burlesque artist. She has been a former actress as well as a model. Starchild bridges the worlds of the matrix and the divine as a beacon of light for freedom to moksha. She truly is here to grid and rise the angelic human to their personifying nature and brings in the divine feminine oracle channel of the Magdalene Sophia Holy Christ line. Here to help rewild through walking her walk and talk of her own divine goddess, leading by example through life as a living, moving, breathing prayer. How beautiful is that? She's also a filmmaker, currently working on Stripped, the true galactic story of Earth's real rock stars, and Kitten, Natividad, 9 lives. You guys are going to absolutely love her. I love her. It's going to be a super high vibe chat today, guys. We are diving deep and we are going to go there. Yes, we are. We are talking about sacred sexuality. We're talking about the new earth divine relationship. What does it all look like? We're going deep here, guys, today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So without further ado, please let me welcome you to my divine and beautiful sister, Starchild. Welcome, 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 and namaste, everyone. It is Wendy here once again with Raise the Vibe Initiative and with an incredibly exciting guest. I have my sweet sister, my sweet friend, Sister Starchild is here on the show. So blessed to have you, sister. Welcome.
Aloha, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to finally be face to face with you.
It's long overdue. We've been trying to connect for a while, so it's so nice that we've connected, and it seems like it's in divine time with Magdalene week and all of these very feminine principles. And you're just such an incredibly beautiful feminine. You have so much going on. I wonder if you could tell, maybe just tell us who you are, what you do. You're so many things. So let's hear it from you.
Thank you. Okay, there are so many things as a multidimensional being. Starchild is my name for a reason. I'm an MC, a mistress of curiosity. An MC, I rhyme and deliver transmissions of oracular divine poetry. I sing. I was a headlining burlesque artist once upon a time in Vegas and around the world. I've worked in pretty much every facet in entertainment, behind and in front of the camera. I've been working as a, not working, but working on documentary projects. And most importantly, first and foremost, a priestess has been what my life's calling has become, where I see all those things that I've done in the past were training for this time in the world now. So all encompassing, I'm a mystic or an oracular DAKINI. I'm an artist. I am an ordained minister. I used to go by Reverend Starchild, and I do prefer sister now because it feels more in line with the Divine Mother, the Holy Priestess. So I've been transferring from Reverend to sister because I like to feel that I'm ultimately on this planet, at the end of the day, a sister to anybody who needs a sister. And that's, I feel like, if I had a job description, sister.
Well, I love that. Yes. Well, that's a beautiful thing. And I think really we are kind of coming into this new way of understanding we're all sisters and brothers, right? Like, in our divinity, we recognize that beautiful connection, as a humanity, so to speak, right?
Yes, the humanity of it all.
Yeah, yeah. So you've been doing some pretty interesting things. I try to follow you. I know you are so free and you do a lot of work. I think you do a lot of grid work, right? Because you
Yeah.
are traveling. Do you want to talk a little bit about what kind of stuff, like what you've been doing the last little bit, where you've been? What's
Sure. Oh my gosh. A little bit, as it all runs together, a day feels like a month sometimes, a month feels like a day. It's all this different energy. And I'll say over the past few years, I've been around the world a few times on a massive stint of my spiritual awakening, which took me to Bali. I lived there from 2019 into 2020. And in India, Hawaii, I was living in Hawaii for the last 3 years, the Big Island. And I have more recently, since I left there last year, which wasn't planned, it's, as you mentioned, I'm a gritter. Spirit leads me. It's not working with the mind. It's this feeling where the spirit just feels like it's going, or the wind starts to change and it just feels like, oh, it feels like there's somewhere else I need to go. And it's really crazy making for a lot of people in my experience, especially those wanting to make plans with me. But but at this juncture, there are certain ones of us, star seeds, star beings, whomever you want to call, that our job here I'd like to say a job to me as a joy of being. A joy of being on this planet. Some of us is truly to be in our highest vibration, and that vibration and those key codes that we each have need to go to different places. Just like crystals. Like sometimes crystals, we like to grid them in certain power spots. Well, we're all crystals. And those of us that are in the angelic frequency, truly opening that, we're massive power sources of love and crystallized energy. So I've been on this journey where it all seems to very much tie in together as a tapestry that's been woven. If I look back, it all makes sense with the dates as coding. And I think that's really what it's about, is recoding and encoding the earth with these new frequencies of love, the new earth, heaven on earth energy.
For sure. That's so beautiful. And I feel heaven on earth. I experience it often, especially when I'm in the sunshine.
Oh
Get
yeah.
codes, right? And I really feel like we are transitioning, I feel like we are all somewhat finding each other, these similar frequencies. There seem to be so many people now that really are awake and walking into their full divine purpose, which is our highest purpose, so to speak. How can we serve, right? How can we sort of find each other? Where do you think we are right now, sort of collectively, in the process of this creation of New Earth? And do you feel, what are your thoughts on it? I like to know everybody's ideas of where we are in this process.
Thank you, Wendy. That's a great question. Where do I think at this moment we are in this process? And that changes every day, but I would say I feel that we are still in and more at a tail end. Thank God. It's exciting, like this moment of starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel of refinement. I feel that for some time now, a good solid year, but like really these last many years has been about stripping away, the shedding, taking off the masks, not just the physical ones, the literal, like the figurative ones, the shadow ones, all like stripping away all the parts of us that we haven't been. And we've been doing that. Some people are just still waking up and starting that. But those of us that I feel have really been on this process, we've been going through this refinement process, like getting ready to really go through the eye of the needle, streamlining our lives, really going through all the closets, under the beds, what's under there, what is not me anymore, what is not who I say I am showing up as, who am I telling the universe I'm really here to be for this mission. So I feel like it's been this testing, refinement period. And so then it's as if when we each clean up our own side of the street, then we have a beautiful neighborhood. And so I feel like we're going to like that place where it's closer, where we're all meeting. And I think a lot of us have been like, it's here, it's here. And then we're like, wait, no, I'm still doing all this shadow work, or everybody else just seems, And I truly feel it's coming to that point where it's materializing now. We can see what we've prayed for. And then that's that fuel to keep us refining. So when we all get together, we're not having all this trauma drama. We're in the celebration time. Like I feel we're getting ready to go into the celebration. I feel it's already been starting. Like really within this last month, especially, the tides have turned with the Syrian gates opening and all of that galactic energy. So yeah, it's like finalizing the refinement and going into the celebration. But surety, like we've all got to be really clear who we are, what we're saying, the words we use, the frequency. And are we walking our walk and talk of God? Are we just talking about it? Are we doing it? And we're getting tested, I feel.
For sure. Are we really fully being in our purpose? Boy, it's interesting. I think in my journey, I look at all of the people that I've been, even in this carnation, and I'm like, wow, like I just feel so disconnected to all of that stuff.
Hmm.
Definitely feeling very different, even in the way that we're being supported, because,
Yeah.
I think so many of us have been caught in this idea of we somehow have to we sort of have one foot in and one foot out. So it's like, okay, well, we need to stay in this job because it's safe, or it's this, or it's that. I personally completely walked out and went, okay, okay, I'm going to trust this. I know, and everyone's going, you're crazy, and I'm like, well,
Then you're doing the right thing.
I mean, this is what I feel like I need to be doing now. And so I'm going to trust this. And what I've come to realize, in the way of this new energy is that it's not so much that we have to be relying on this idea of money, because the abundance comes when you do the work, and it comes in different ways. It comes in ways of connections, of people, of sharing service, of just there's so many different ways that we are now sort of interacting and co-collaborating together, which is really exciting, because I feel like that old paradigm, or this power and control structure that the matrix, I maybe still, governs to a certain respect. I feel like it's being really broken, and it's a beautiful way of sharing the way that things are going to be in the future. This new currency, and that trust, that we can trust as long as we're on the right path, as long as we are living in the heart, that we will always be taken care of. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, Wendy. And I just would really love to pinpoint what you said there at the end is what it's all about, the heart.
Mm,
What is coming from the heart? that's the easy way to know how we lead through this time. What would the heart do? What are the answers of the heart? And I don't mean the pre-programmed notions of what the heart is and does and love, because what we've been shown quite a bit of in TV and movies and over the years has been what love is not, under the guise of calling it love. And so I feel we're in this process where there's so many of us that are really operating from a joy, love frequency. People are starting to see the difference when they notice everyone around them is, you know, maybe feels very unhappy. And then they come across people such as yourself and I and others that are really on this mission of raising our vibration. They start to notice, wait, this is something different. And I think people are really waking up to what the heart is and what love is. And that's going to take us all the way through. Love is the only true answer, I feel.
You know, I think the matrix breaks us. It shows us everything that love is not. And there's a beauty in that, because when we know what we don't want, we're better able then to understand what it is that we do want. And, you know, coming into the heart, I would say, you know, this is where we're living now most of the time. Let's talk about love. Oh, let's talk about love. Yeah. Okay. So obviously, you know, I think some of us have chosen to be single. Many of us, we can see that, you know, the old conditions in sort of this matrix reality of, and I don't want to say I have friends of mine that are very happy. So this is not for everybody. But what I have noticed in that paradigm is there's a lot of sort of this narcissistic codependency kind of circle that ends up happening. And and so it's not very balanced. So now that I you know, realized I had to go in through my ancestral lines, through my own experience, and sort of clear a lot of this stuff and organize, okay, what is it that I don't want and what is it that I do want, and coming into my heart and healing myself. Um, I wonder now, okay, well, what is divine relationship? Let's Yeah, because maybe, you know, I think when we integrate with ourselves and heal ourselves, that maybe now we're open to a new kind of relationship. And I wonder what that looks like. What do you think?
Yeah, Wendy, you know, I've been wondering about it lately too, and I feel so giddy and funny that it's being brought up this way too, because very similar to, as you've said, you know, been single for a while. Like I've also, I mean, been on a whole other extreme of like, I'm going to be a celibate monk priestess and start a monastery. You know, I've been on this whole other trajectory of like, I'm feeling complete with that romantic love department, because a lot of it was that narcissistic, that trauma, that codependency. And I truly believe that there are a lot of us, those of us that have come to this planet with the potential to be beloveds. And those of us that truly took it seriously and went through all the ringers. And because every relationship is only an opportunity for us to become better and for that person to become better, but it's up to each person. Only we can be responsible for how we come out and raise from it. And I think when we do a lot of those, sometimes a lot of us get like, I think I'm good. You know, I am a ordained minister. And when I became ordained, I took an oath where it was really like I was marrying with God and Son, you know, the universe. And so since then, I've felt very fulfilled. And even just weeks ago saying like, I'd be fine if I never was in another romantic relationship. And then don't you know, as soon as I feel I said that,
It's like boom.
and now I'm in a new experience where I feel like I've met somewhere it's like this person checks the boxes. And it's also what I feel is going slow and learning that we're in a time where codependence cannot live on this planet. It's not meant to live anymore. It's so 3D. I don't even know if it's 3D. It's like 1.5D. It's like
Yeah.
so low when it's really in that. But it's about learning how to be interdependent. And like you said, you're happy. You've been happy alone. So have I. I've been protecting my singular, lifestyle with everything I had, but then realizing that there is this feeling of we're here to be tribe. We're tribal animals. And a partnership, a true divine partnership with two people who really been through the ringer and then come into the heart of gratitude. Because that's where the best part, I feel, Wendy, of what you were sharing. I know what I don't want. So when we hold true what we didn't want, and then no, we never have to do that again. Those are all the old stories. And then as we rise into being the frequency of what we want, and then that starts to show up, showering it with love and gratitude, not dragging the past into it, really operating from this new story, because we're all new beings. Even since yesterday, we're still upgrading and changing. And I feel like what love can look like today is freedom, is those that are coming together really in mission projects, artistic creativity. What can we do together that isn't a job, where a relationship isn't work, it's a joy of being, right? Like, but I feel you really had a huge point there, like the codependency, all those things, those are not qualities allowed to come. So we all got to, again, clean our own side of the street so we're not dragging that into a new relationship. And I truly feel none of us will get in them until we've done the work. Like, I feel it's just, spirit's like, you can't come this far and not do that last bit. And usually that last bit's a challenging one.
Yeah. I see 333.
Oh,
And our code this morning, and then every time I've been looking, I've been getting codes today.
I love it.
I love how you've said that. And also too, it's what I've noticed is regardless of what we've been through, we've been now able to sort of let this go. And so we're looking through new lenses. I'm looking through different lenses, and coincidentally, the people that I attract into my reality are very, very different than when I was still attracting my woundedness and my shadow.
Mm.
And so I am noticing now that I am seeing love as the purity of a child would see love.
Ah.
And that is so beautiful. It's so beautiful because that integration, right, of the inner child is also sort of witnessing now. It's a really beautiful healing that I feel like is taking place. So I think it's really exciting. And, I always said if I were to, because I feel like I'm in divine relationship also with the divine, and I'm okay with that. I quite love it. I'm like, okay, very happy in the integration also of my own masculine and feminine energy, right?
Mm.
But it is nice to sort of think, well, if there is such thing as a divine relationship to manifest in this physical reality, that might be kind of interesting if we can look at it really from that innocence of a child and that real pure love, that
Yes. And I feel, Lindy, that's the answer to most things on this planet. And when we do, as we do, really truly return to that innocence of a child, it desexualizes things. It's not, connection's not going to just be about that. It's about the best friendship, the fun, the play, the just being weirdos together. And when people can come into that place, and I feel first and foremost have really done the work to love ourselves, and we're pouring that love and respect into us, and then it's just overflowing into someone. And I feel like that's what real love looks like. It's just these fountains and just flowing into each other with play and fun and curiosity, acceptance, compassion.
yes, bring back the fun. Have
Bring back the fun.
a dance party. Get
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love it. That's so, so beautiful. I love the way that you've shared that.
Thank you. Thanks. That was a beautiful question.
Yeah, well, I'm allowing this to flow. It's like I'm seeing my sister for the first time in a while, so I'm excited
Yay.
to have this conversation, right? I guess, well, we did entitle the show "Remembering the Divine Human."
Mm.
as we're sort of talking about, I believe, the divine human lives within every single human being on earth, and that is their divine spark, their spark of creation.
Yeah.
We are all an aspect of the divine. And so that's my understanding of how I would explain the divine human. When we're able to come into the heart, we reconnect with that divine source that lives within all of us, the purity, again, the innocence, the purity, the love, the oneness, the unity, that we all are, right? And I'd like to know how you best describe, what is the divine human? What is it to be fully human and fully divine? What are your
Mm.
thoughts on that?
Thank you, Wendy. Yeah, fully human, fully divine. That's where this began. I remember because I did a talk about it. And I was speaking to, as we're truly on a path of being fully human and fully divine, which is a concept that's brought in through the Magdalene gospel, something that Yeshua was speaking in his last time with the group after resurrection. And he spoke about how we must be fully human and fully divine, the child of humanity. It didn't say the son of humanity, it didn't say the daughter, it said the child of humanity, and that we must seek being the child of humanity, which is being fully human and fully divine. And that is never, never negating one or the other. Because a lot of people on a spiritual path, they get very high and mighty. And what comes with that is judgment. And then you're already off.
Got it.
Once we go into judgment, we're already actually not in our divine. We're fully in our human, because the human, that's one of the characteristics. So it is about having this balance of finding the flow of the human qualities and the divine qualities. And a divine quality is compassion, love, not judging. Not one of us can judge, not one of us on this planet, because nobody knows what's in our contract, what karma we're clearing. Yeshua, he had dinner with everybody. Doesn't mean he believed all what they were doing was correct, but he knew he was there to be fully human and fully divine, to be with them as a reflection of love and salvation, of truth, of wisdom. And I feel that's a big part of being fully human divine, is to really know that we're here as a reflection for each individual, and each individual is here as a reflection for us. No one's better than anybody. No one's higher up the ladder or lower. We're all really in a spiral and just different places in the circle. Nobody's ahead. And I truly feel that these are some of the simple concepts that really are the teachings of the Magdalene and Yeshua, the true ones, not necessarily the ones that got written up or the ones that were hidden. But I would say, yeah, it's really having the knowledge, the wherewithal to know that there is an aspect of needing to be both. We can't just be one, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm on earth, so I'll be human. Okay, great. If you want to be stuck in the cycle, the slave cycle of, it's not funny at all, but like truly, when we look at it as the divine comedy, which I feel is also being very fully human and fully divine, God's funny. The universe is hilarious. Like the divine play of this life. And when we really can look at it as, we're all here in this thing together. How do we make it fun? You already said it, returning to our childlike nature, and then learning how to be both, not ever just being stuck in one. And like the balance, we must be in our balance of our masculine and our feminine, masculine and our feminine and Holy Spirit. It's really a trinity, I feel, of a balance. And it's no easy task. That's why we're here. To raise the vibe through doing it.
We chose this.
We chose this.
For the longest time, I went, why did I choose this? And now I'm like, wow, you know what? This is really beautiful because when we're open and we are in full remembrance, this is an incredible experience.
Yeah.
The synchronicity and, the garden and the flowers and the beautiful things that we're able to experience. It is really beautiful. But boy, it took a very hard and tumultuous time to get there.
Yeah.
It did for me anyway. I don't know, but I imagine you as well. I know you've done, we've all come and done our work here, I think, to clear a lot of the things that have been in our ancestral lines and various times, prior. So I think that now is the time where we finally get to enjoy some of the fruits of our labor. And
Yes.
I also, okay, so this has just come up for me while you were talking. It's a little bit off topic, but maybe not a ton, because we're talking about the masculine and feminine, union within. And so now I'm going back without a little bit, but I would like to ask you and what your thoughts are on sacred sexuality. I said it. Let's talk about it. I want to talk about it, because I think these are teachings that we have not been taught,
Mm,
and I think they're very important and sacred teachings. I think sexual energy is getting severely misused in lots of
yes.
ways, and that's a dangerous thing. So I think if we can kind of understand the sacredness behind this energy and why, what this is about, and I think you're the perfect person maybe to explain that to us. Can you talk about it? Can you tell me what your thoughts are about that?
Thank you, Wendy. I really am excited that you've gone in this direction because it is so important. Because how else did we get here other than sacred sexuality? And I fully agree with you. Sexual energy is, first of all, very misused because it's misunderstood. It's been so convoluted and outright lied about. And I truly believe that our sexuality is meant to be, I mean, the whole school system, everything about it needs to be changed and updated because, and I am a tantric priestess, so this is my path where I've been learning where from a young age, I became very sexual from a young age. And most women on a Magdalene path do, and men can't have one without the other. There's priests and there's priestesses. And we tend to be the ones that go through kind of blind, doing it wrong, I could say, like really caught up in the matrix, the programming, just really drawn to feeding a system with our sexual energy consistently because we don't know better, but because we're trained that we're supposed to want that. We're supposed to want to be that sexy girl that's being blah, blah, blah exploited and this and that. And we think that that is a good thing. And we get confused. We've all been completely programmed by it. And so the sacred sexuality conversation is massive because, for one thing, in religion, it's completely shrouded in most religions as dirty, as shameful, and the human body has been under attack. And in the vein of being fully human and fully divine, where we have these gorgeous marble sculptures of men and women, angels or whomever, Venus, and they're nude and they're voluptuous and they're gorgeous. And that's okay because it's art, it's not real. But then why can't we as women be here as actual physically the embodiment in flesh as the goddess, you and I and so many other women, like, we'll just be honest, why don't we get to be that? Why are we then, oh, they're, we get names called of us, or a lot of beautiful women are not trusted around men or children, or, because there's all of this inbred distortion all around sexuality. And it started, God knows when. I've got some ideas of when. I won't go all down that rabbit hole, but sacred sexuality, sex is a very beautiful aspect of the human experience. And I mean, God, so much that a lot of angels fell for it. They were like, we're going down there and we're getting wives and we're going to have, and the whole thing started from that. And I really believe the angels they wanted to experience it. The ones that were considered the fallen angels that birthed the Nephilim. And I feel that this conversation, it goes into every crevice of every story we know, because again, sex is how we create life, actual human life, animal life. We're doing it in other ways now too, which I feel is not the way we're supposed to. And I think that's why a lot of civilizations and societies, quite frankly, fell when sexuality gets out of balance. And yes, it is about bringing it back to the purity of what it's for. Because mindless sex, and I've done it, I can say, because I've experienced all sides of it, there's nothing really to gain from that. And as a woman who's gone through many periods of celibacy, which I am right now as well, for a very clear reason of, I want to know exactly what my energy is, clear womb clearing of old energies to prepare for the beloved, which is either also me, and it's going to be me and God and the universe, or it's going to be me and someone else. And I just feel this need to really clear everyone's energy, anything that I didn't understand when I took place in it, either because we hold that energy in us for all time. So clearing old energy of other people will stop attracting those type of partners and people to us as well. It's like getting rid of their hooks, their frequencies, their resonance, and coming back to where sex is love. Because I've learned that once you know what the Christed light feels like, you don't want anything less. And when sex is approached as sacred sexuality, then it is nothing short of the Christed light, and people can achieve that.
Yeah. That's beautifully stated. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think also too, I guess to add on that, I mean, I don't think that sex is merely for only, to procreate. I
Right.
I think that there's also a space there where we can use it to, well, maybe not procreate just babies. I mean, we can take that energy, we can also create other things with that energy, right?
Yeah.
If we are, let's say, I'm also understand your idea about celibacy, and I feel the exact same way as you, and am going through my own process at the moment. That said, we can kind of say, okay, well, if we want to prepare for a divine partner, so to speak, what is the use? I mean, I have a family already. I've had my children. I'm not particularly interested in having any more. I love children, but I've done my motherly duty, and but I still think that even after that is done, right? What How do we share then with a partner? Like, what do you think about, like, what is the basis of that interaction as a tantric priestess?
Hmm.
What do we want to be obtaining with our partner if we're sharing in that way?
It's a wonderful question. Thank you so much for asking it. Trust, safety, intimacy, curiosity, fun, expansion. And all of that is encompassed in sacred sexuality, because you're right. It's not only for bearing children. I'm not going to have children on this planet. And it is, we can heal the world with orgasm. When two people come together intentionally and with the intention to bring positive alchemical energy together, and it is in a space of love and full interest of just becoming the divine, just merging in cosmic frequencies. And that can be unked. There's a technique they call unking, where you unk the energy, like you picture it in the form of an unk, like circulating. And so we can, like you said, use our sexual energy for creation. Like right now, I'm particularly holding my sexual energy also because I'm in a creation process of new artistry with my music and dance. And I noticed when I had one time decided to break my celibacy, all my energy was drained the next day, and it took me weeks to get it back. And so, yeah, we can use, rather than expending it with another person, use it into our creative projects as artists. And then as lovers come together, they can use that as for their creative projects, or it can be used for healing energy. It can be used in prayer. It depends on the intention and the types of people, but there's so much to be said about the Kundalini energy, because it is life force energy that just wants to be ecstatic. And it can, when we learn to start letting our guard down and coming into the heart of it.
Beautiful. I know. I love my own. I understand my own sexual energy and absolutely do use it for my own creational purposes. And I,
Yay.
right, because we know that once we're able to harness this, I think if you're using it in divine union, so to speak, I like that idea of using it to, create together. And so I guess that brings it back to also the importance of being on the same level, having that deep love, that deep respect, that deep honoring between the two partners in order to be able to use that and harness that in the proper way, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's about not settling, it just to never have sexual relations with someone that you don't really want to. There's no favors anymore in those departments, that nobody ever needs to be giving that energy unless it's fully like chemical, because when it's done that way, it transforms people. It transforms energetically the space the people are in when it's really like fully wanted and desired and ready for. That's a big part of it too. It's like expansive life force energy.
And I'm sure we could even go a little bit deeper, but then we might be getting into some stuff that that maybe we'll save that for our next show, because I would like to dive a little bit more into it. But yeah, I think that
Well, maybe we have a conversation on, I've been talking about starting my podcast, and I believe it's going to be called Spiritual Striptease. So maybe we talk about it on mine, and then your channel doesn't get in trouble.
okay, I love it. Oh, I love that. And I think that we could talk a little bit about that. Starchild is an incredibly amazing creative genius. You're always working on different things, and I know that you're working on Stripped. Your Instagram is Sister Starchild, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where I know you've been showing some little snippets. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you, Wendy. I would love to. So, as I mentioned, I was a professional burlesque artist, a striptease artist.
Yeah.
And that was a really special time of my life. And it got to a point where my spiritual journey was really taking full force. And I just really felt I was a character. I didn't feel I didn't know who I was. And I felt I was always playing a character. And so I ended up going to documentary film school. And our first project was a personal project, personal voice. So this was my journey from burlesque artist to documentary filmmaker. Little did I know, the documentary filmmaking was really, I feel, implemented in my path by spirit to train me to, once I found my voice I had no idea what was coming back in 2017, but it was this feeling of we're coming into this revolutionary time. And I lived in a bubble for a long time. I didn't look at what was going on in the world. I was really shielded, I feel, to have a mass kind of in like Fifth Element, when Lilo sees the footage of the world and she's just, I feel like that's what happened to me when I went to film school. because I just started watching documentary. And so this project, my teacher really felt very strongly like, you have to finish this. And she ended up passing while she was still teaching me. She had to have an emergency brain surgery, but watched my film and made sure to call me before and told me like, you must finish this. And so I have been touring around the world, literally living the film stripped, because I really took to heart, and I have taken to heart in this lifetime, that for one thing, as much as I love this planet and Earth, I feel I'm moving on after this time. And I really feel devoted to getting, moksha, to getting out of the cycle. And I feel we can all do that by really practicing our being fully human and fully divine. And so Stripped is really the story, which it's become now called Stripped, the true galactic story of Earth's real rock stars, which to me is those of us that are the real rock stars are the ones who are here for this beautiful blue-green rock, this planet. Not necessarily not the material world, not the fame, not the matrix stuff. I went that way. I tell you, it's not there. I was already there many times. Everybody, it's not in there. Okay, a lot of us are starting to come out and say like, no, that's not the way. It's the way of the earth. It's the way of the mother. It's the way of the artist, because we are our divine creation. So this story is really not just about me anymore, and I'm learning whether it's maybe a series or what have you, but it's including the people that I've met along the way, the elders that have started communities 40 years ago for, a lot of people even knew what they were doing and living off grid and completely having all solar, growing their own food. There's people who have been doing this lifestyle for a long time, homesteaders. I want to show that. I want to show, all the different ways of how this world can grow into be a supportive, regenerative society. So I'd say Stripped, it's a story of, my early beginnings began in New York City, and then Los Angeles and Vegas and all these hard places. So it'll tell the Matrix story. And then what happens to someone who lives in it, I'll tell you, I became incredibly unwell. And then once I woke up, I realized I got off all big pharma and never went back to any of that. And so it's been this stripped story unraveling to show what's underneath, a much more bare, innocent, beautiful Earth.
I can totally relate, and I think that's beautiful. I'm so supportive. I'm so supportive of that, and anything I can do to help support you with that project, I'd be happy to do that, because I too had my experience in the Matrix. 15 years old, was scouted by a fashion, modeling agency, and was off, very soon after that, and traveling and in that, realm, so to speak. And yes, I am very happy that I had that experience, because it really did allow me to open up my perspective and see, how the world lives, and understand the universal language of love and all these beautiful things that, I was able to experience because of that. But also seeing the very dark undergirding side of, this industry and these industries, and how how the underbelly is pretty dark. So
Yes.
I think it would be really nice to see somebody really be able to share kind of what that experience looks like, and
Yeah.
how one comes out of that on the other side, right? It's a beautiful thing. So anyway, very excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, that is, I appreciate the way you worded that, because at times it does feel like, oh God, I've got a lot I could say. And I appreciate that you spoke to, I know, with your own path as a model. I mean, we've gone through a lot of worlds that
Yeah.
weren't very nice. And I think it's not so much now about fixating on that, but yeah, showing it. but then also really more importantly, teaching people how do we accept it, heal from it, and move on. Because I think a lot of the world is stuck in the I'm healing, I'm healing, I'm healing. They're just constantly like digging everything up, and like they're addicted, a lot of the world, to the trauma. And I see that in a lot of the spiritual communities, and because it became a big business now. And I think, yeah, it's like getting really in the new story of showing what happened, wrapping it up, and okay, now this is what we're doing, people, and believing it's the new story.
That's right.
That's, I think, the most important part of that project, is really showing the new story, how people can live differently.
Yes. That's the end, right? Like we went, okay, I'm going to sign a contract. I'm going to do this, this, and this, be this person, have these relationships, go through this kind of hell. But eventually, at the end of all that hell, guess where I'm going to go?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's worth it.
It's
It's so worth it. I'll tell you, I wouldn't change a thing.
what me neither, because every single experience was such a wonderful mirror. Because had we not had them, we would not have experienced the awakening, aspect of that. Like I truly believe we really have to go through these very dark experiences to be able to come out the other side of that, and
Yes.
and to see for me, I kept going, okay, but I was never quite sure what it was that I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted. And, we come in and then it's like, you come into these families, and so you're sort of taught whatever programming is around the family, structure that you come in, and you're sort of taught all of these ideas, and then you you essentially keep recreating those stories, and it's like you're never going to come out of them unless they're really difficult. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna keep living that story if it's easy breezy. But if
Oh,
and let's say we've all gone through this idea of the trauma bond. We've all been traumatized, there's no doubt about it. And
yes.
we'll recreate that trauma, until we finally say,
Yes.
okay, that's enough. That's not gonna happen anymore. I recognize where that needs to be healed within myself. And so we're gonna
Yes.
that now, and we're gonna let that, we're gonna heal it not only for us, not even just healing it for me, I'm healing it for my children, my children's children, and my ancestors, but before me, because
Yep.
it needs to be done, right? Like this is the society as a whole, and we keep carrying through these toxic programs. The only way that we're gonna clear them is becoming aware of what they are and going through enough pain to say that's enough. That's enough, right?
Yes, Wendy, so totally, truly. And everything you just spoke about really is also about being fully human and fully divine, because the divine loves us. We're superstars down here in these human bodies, heroes, truly, the spirit being here right now. And that when we start to wake up and make the choices of the change that you just so eloquently spoke about, that's the being fully divine, because the divine is love. And when we start to love ourselves and make the changes and do the healing for us and our kids and their kids and all the grandmothers and so on, that is completely changing the frequency of this planet, that it will never be that way again. And that's being the fully human and fully divine, because the human has to be courageous to do it. And that's the thing. Like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people stay in that cycle because it's easy or it's comfortable, and it takes courage to be fully human and fully divine, because the circle gets small. A lot of people are not either courageous enough, or some, frankly, I understand, just are not actually contracted to go all the way this time. And so I think a lot of people need to really get out of the blame game. Like when we point a finger, there's three back at us. Like, why are they doing that? Or why won't they change that? That might not be their karma in this lifetime. They might be contracted to play the bad guy, and that's why I think it's so important to stop focusing outside of us and what others are doing, and just focus really on those of us that are doing what feels right, those of us that are resonating together, raising the vibe together. And I feel that's truly a path of being fully human and divine. It's like realizing we've got all of this and there's no time to waste on constant finger pointing. It's time to move on, come through the healing and celebrate now. Like, let's live it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We
And
came a long way for this.
totally, we did. And I think also too, maybe for some of the people that are watching, there's a remembrance as well to kind of think about, okay, remember every relationship in your life and view it as a mirror. Because if there's a relationship that's coming back to you that is not in service to you, if of course abuse, that's the contract's over right there. Okay. I'm going to just say that right out there.
Yeah.
That, we don't do that. But oftentimes they're mirroring our wounds back to us, right? So it's an opportunity to heal. And I think that's just what I want
Yes.
to say, right? So looking at these things that even if they are challenging, when we see it as a mirror, it gives us an opportunity to look at that and see what it's mirroring back to us that we need to look
Yeah.
at, right? That we need to say, okay, I'm ready to heal this. So yeah,
Yeah.
exciting. It's an
And
exciting
and
time.
sometimes it takes many people, a lot of the really big ones. It takes many, many people till we finally see it. And all that matters is that we finally do, and we got to really start being loving and more gentle with ourselves. We've gone through a lot. Every single being on this planet has gone through a lot, and really have the compassion and love and understanding of like, wow, you did a lot here. Okay, let's get you in and like love you, and so now you're going to overflow that love back out into the planet rather than victimhood and shame and blame. Like, it's like we got to change the story of what we're putting out.
And sharing the love. Love heals so many things, and
Yeah.
you know, even none of us are perfect. I don't think we ever will be perfect. That's not what human is being about, right? And there's a
No.
beauty in that. But when we're able to love ourselves and we're able to love others when they maybe aren't able to love themselves as much, there's so much healing there too, right?
Yeah.
That is also how we can kind of serve other people, right? Is that we recognize,
Yes.
rather than the judgment of going, okay, like, because I mean, there's a few people that have been in my life story that I would like to maybe sometimes have judgment about. But, I've come into this idea of now, and even so, there are sometimes they come in and are not kind, and I go, this is really hard to do too. But I have come into this idea of, okay, well, you know what? I am going to, and I don't want to sound, overly holy, but what I'm going to do is I am going to pray that you love yourself more. And I'm going to hope that
Mm.
whatever is, whatever is hurting in you, that it gets healed so that you can, heal yourself and heal others. And that was really challenging because I'll tell you, there are a few that I'm like, not easy, not easy, right? But
It works
I've
though,
noticed
Wendy.
I've noticed that when I do that, their behavior changes, right?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden I'm going, who are you? Yeah, I knew there was something good in there, right? So
Yeah.
that's been an
The
interesting.
power of prayer. We don't need to even sometimes talk to people about things like you just said. Truly, when people show up in a way that is, we know they could do better, we hope they could do better, we wish they had do better, and we pray, oftentimes they truly do receive it in the ethers. There's so much to be said about prayer and just the power of thought through the ethers. And if someone's higher self is ready, they'll pick it up and they really will. And then we can cut out the middleman of all the drama. Like there's a lot less conversations that could be had of like pulling stuff up with prayer and then people figuring their own stuff out and just showing up differently and coming like, hey, I'm sorry about that.
It just feels better to love. Honestly, it feels better to
Yeah.
love. Telling you. Okay.
Love.
Anyway, oh, well, you're your energy is so good. Big cosmic hug to you, sister. I am so happy we got an opportunity to connect. And I would love to have you on again at some point if you'd be interested in coming on. I think we could dive
Absolutely.
into that sacred sexuality. I'd almost like to do a part two.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah.
You're really fun to talk to, Wendy. Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks, love. Thanks. And so are you. It's just been a blessing. And to all of you guys out there, I hope you enjoyed our beautiful sister as much as I did. And sending everybody so much love. Namaste.
Blessings. Aloha.